Welcome to Business Matters. We're now at part 3, looking at the importance of production to the economy. Our objectives for this lesson are to outline the functions of small businesses, to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of small businesses, to explain the effect of business growth. So let's move on. What are the functions of a small business? A small business is a venture that is owned by a private individual and has a relatively low number of employees and sales. So, small business, relatively low employees, and low sales. Let's look at some function. 1. The small business is supplying goods and services to satisfy demand. It is providing rural areas with nearby shopping facilities. And most persons who live within the rural areas and townships in the Caribbean would know that these small shops and small businesses are quite convenient places, yes, to obtain goods and services. Thirdly, it provides competition that keeps large businesses alert that someone else is willing to satisfy the consumers. 4, it fulfills a particular niche in the market that large businesses does not provide. Now, 5, it also create employment. Yes, it is creating employment. Collectively, the small businesses create an impact in lowering unemployment. In Jamaica, there is a proverb, one cocoa, full basket. In that, we're saying one small business employing 2 persons, when you add all that up, it is really impacting the level of unemployment. Advantages of small businesses. 1, they provide employment opportunities in rural and depressed areas, as we said earlier. Closer communication exists between owner and employees. Good working relationships are more easily established and maintained in small businesses. Employees are more personally involved in achieving the goals of the business. Yes, it is easier to provide personal sales service to the customers. It is easier to provide personal sales service to the customer. Disadvantages of small businesses. Now, starting up the business exposes the owner to high personal financial risk. Yes, so that's a disadvantage. The owner who is going to start the business is open to high personal financial risk. 2, they may find it harder to secure outside financing. You see, with a large business, yes, the banks and other financiers are quicker to lend money to these large businesses. Why? Because these large businesses have a large asset base that can be used as collateral to guarantee their recouping of their loan, the money that they have lent. But with small business, they do not have that kind of leverage in terms of assets. So they will find it harder to secure financing. They do not have the funding to put into research, development, and technology. And you know what this does is allow the business now to develop the quality, yes, and the production processes that will, create what we refer to as economies of scale, producing more and increased productivity and so on. The disadvantage is that they may have outsourced expertise because they cannot afford to hire them on staff. So because they can't afford to hire them on staff, so you don't have these expert support all the time. They may not be able to deal with sudden external shocks in the economy. So if there is some drastic thing that happened in the economy, the first set of businesses that are going to be affected dramatically is the small businesses. They don't have the capital base, don't have the level of insurance for coverage, and so on, to have a quick bounce back. All right, so we'll move on to business growth. Now, the reasons business grow are: one, they are successful and expansion is necessary to meet the demand for their products. Now, every business wants to grow, yes, and they wish to make greater level of profit as they grow, yes. Thirdly, they grow because they are trying to gain economies of scale. That means they are able to produce more at a reduced cost. They wish to reduce competition and become market leaders. Let's move on. There are two types of business growth: internal business growth and external business growth. Let's go on and look at it. Now, in relation to internal business growth, it occurs when the business expands through the use of its own resources. So internal business growth, the business is doing something using their own resources to expand. Now, such as retaining some of their profits, yes, reinvesting it into the business for further expansion. So internal business growth, they are retaining some of their profits and reinvesting it into the business for further expansion. They also may open other outlets, yes, in other locations. An expanding business can afford to invest in assets that improve its productivity. So when a business is growing, then it can also have the ability to get better machines and equipment to improve its productivity. So they can buy more machines, buying equipment that will produce products more economically. Economies of scale will take place, yes? If they're able to buy, modern machines and equipment that can produce the goods at a faster rate and greater quantity, then the level of the economies of scale will take place. When we talk about economies of scale, is where there is an increasing output with fewer input costs. The business is now able to engage specialist staff. And when we're talking about small business earlier, we were saying that small businesses, they may outsource some tasks to specialist persons, expertise, but they can't have them on staff. But in a growing business, you can now engage specialist individuals and staff to be there for you all the time. The business have the ability to buy supplies in larger quantity, yes, at a lower cost. So they're able to buy in larger quantity at a lower cost.